Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks. And Todd Talks people listen. Hopefully. Today, we have a very fun death battle to talk about, as it is Blake Belladonna of RWBY versus Mikasa Ackerman of Attack on Titan. Our first Attack on Titan character ever in death battle, and I will stand by that. Alright, I know we haven't had Attack on Titan before. Also, as a side note, RWBY as a series has now had 3 fights with 3 different franchises, which I find very, very cool. Because remember, we had Yang Xiaolong versus Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. Then we had Wei Shi versus Mitsuru Kirijo from Persona 3. And now we have, Blake versus Attack on Titan. That's pretty cool. I like it when it's, very diverse matchups. So, we got a lot to talk about. And it's going to be interesting, although I wonder if you already know who's going to win. So let's start off with Blake Belladonna. Now, the actual history of RWBY and Remnant is so crazy, I'm not going to get into it. One word, Salem. Wow. So let's focus on Blake Belladonna and the Faunus, because when the various gods of creation made Remnant, they made two very distinct species, the humans and the Faunus. The humans are human, and the Faunus were humanoid beings, but with various animalistic features. Sometimes it was simple things like spots or cat ears, or other times it was full-on animalistic abilities and various other things that made them special. However, much like a human in any universe that is ever created, including our own, these Faunus were discriminated against and declared to be lesser beings and insults to creation because, again, humans suck. Sorry. And as such, the Faunus had to fight for their rights. And actually, in the history of Remnant, there was a massive Faunus war, one that ended in a giant tie, if you will, that was labeled that way so that neither class could win and peace could at least attempt to be had. But naturally, that just doesn't work. And thus, to this day, in modern day Remnant, the Faunus have had to continue to fight for their freedom, for their rights, and to be seen as equal beings. And in the realm of Menagerie, which is a mini island where a lot of Faunus are just crammed together so they could escape the humans, the Belladonna family created the White Fang. Now, not also you're seeing all the real world parallels here, and not unlike a real world group that decided to do peace and only peace, Blake's father and mother led the White Fang to try and be a peaceful way of protest and to get rights for Faunus. But when that wasn't enough, certain members, including Adam Torres, decided that they need to become more of a militant group, more of a guerrilla warfare group. And Blake, in her youth, she's still only 19 in the series technically. In her youth, decided that this was the right way to go. So she was already in the White Fang, but she joined Adam Torres and his more guerrilla warfare style of fighting for the rights of the Faunus. And for a while, she was totally fine with it. She didn't mind that humans were getting hurt. She didn't mind that they were, destroying property and getting things to help their cause. But over time, she realized that Adam was getting more and more aggressive, that there needed to be a better way to fight for the rights of Faunus. And so eventually, as we saw in the Black trailer for RWBY that kicked off the whole series, she eventually left Adam and decided to go her own path, which led her to Beacon Academy, where she became part of the group, RWBY. Yeah. As a part of RWBY, Blake is the kind of more reserved and calm member of the group, which is not saying much when you look at RWBY, Weiss and Yang Xiaolong. But she, for the first couple seasons, hid she was a Faunus. She wore a bow to hide her cat ears, and when it was revealed that she was a Faunus, she was naturally a little bit more reserved for various things because she knew of the hate that humans had for the Faunus that we saw constantly in Beacon Academy itself via Cardinal, that jerk kept messing with Coco, and so on and so forth. And when she kept trying to explain what the true intent of the White Fang was, you could tell that she had no problem with being a Faunus. She just hated what had become of both her people, the people who treated her people wrong, and so on and so forth. Or as one quote said from her, I believe it was, "I want to be seen for who I am, not what I am." So, and isn't that what we all want? Now, as time went on, Blake became more and more confident, more in who she was, because that was like arguably her greatest weakness. She even said that her semblance, which I'll be getting to, was a reference to her fears because it's a shadow. It's a shadow of her former self, and she uses it to run away. She was convinced that she had a personality of, I run away from everything. I ran away from my family. I ran away from Adam. Ran away for the right thing, and I'll run away from Team Ruby when the time comes because that's just what I do. But through her friends in Ruby and Sun Wukong, among others, she was able to grow in her confidence and realize that she had a way to truly change the world, and she was going to do it, even if it meant, sacrificing certain things about herself, and in terms of, admitting who she was and getting rid of like her self-loathing and becoming the true warrior that she needs to be. And that's exactly what happened, because after volume 3 of Ruby, she went back to Menagerie, reconnected with her parents, helped bring the White Fang down, saved Minstrel Academy, and eventually reconnected with Team Ruby so that they could go to Atlas. And, well, let's just stop there because that's just getting into spoiler territory, okay? Now, key among the things with Blake is that she is a huntress, and she's actually an official huntress thanks to recent Ruby volumes, and you should really go watch Ruby, I'm just saying. But she is a huntress, and her weapon of choice is called the Gamble Shroud. It is a multi-part weapon that, as you probably saw in the preview, makes Boomstick just drool, because it is actually really, really cool. The weapon itself is a blade, but her sheath can make it a cleaver, and then the sword can transform it to a Kasarigama, which is attached to a ribbon, which allows her to grapple around. Oh yeah, remember when I was having trouble describing the weapons of Blake and Mikasa? They're grapplers. They're grapple guns. They're grapplers. It's what they do. They grapple around like Batman. All right, who's also been in death battle multiple times. So anyway, she can transform her sword into a Kasarigama and using it as a grapple to go here and there and everywhere, like Spider-Man minus the webs. And then it also obviously transforms into a gun, which it can be incredibly accurate, and it can use dust. Dust is a entity of remnant that has various elemental properties and can be used in both weapons and semblances to supercharge them, make them more powerful. I'll get to that. But her Gamble Shroud is an incredibly versatile weapon. It makes her arguably one of the more agile fighters of Ruby, outside of maybe Ruby herself, because of her rose petal transformation. But Blake is no slouch herself. Plus, with her faunus nature, she has enhanced hearing, night vision, and certain other senses that allow her to react in blinding fast speeds. And as a huntress, through now, where are we at? 8 volumes? Right? 7 or 8? Yeah, I think it's 8. But through all these volumes, she's had to fight not just other huntsmen and huntresses who are not nice people, but Grimm of all shapes, sizes, and colors, including Beowulfs and Nevermores and Borbatus. I write a Ruby fanfic, for the record. I'll probably put it in the link below. No, really, I do. But she has this knack of fighting all these creatures and just destroying them without much effort. And through her adventures through Ruby, she's fought armies of Grimm. She's fought very powerful huntsmen and huntresses under the banner of Salem and certain other entities, and she's come out on top more times than not. She's even fought her ex in Adam Taurus and beaten him, though she did have help from Yang in that one. She fought her old friend Ilya and beat her definitively, and Ilya was a top-tier assassin for the White Fang. And because of her training, both as a huntsman and a guerrilla fighter, she is incredibly adept in all kinds of techniques to help her get through certain get through certain enemies. And her key thing is her semblance, which, as I mentioned, is called shadow. What it does is she can create a clone of herself and use it to do various things. Most times, she infuses it with dust, and by doing so, she can have it do certain techniques. For example, if she chooses to use ice dust, she can go and time it just right to where the weapon of her foe, like Adam Taurus, will get their weapon stuck in the ice clone just long enough so she can strike back. She can use earth to actually cause an earthquake. She has violet dust, which can create a dark cloud, which can block people's sights, but it won't affect her because of her night vision. Fire dust can be used to create an exploding clone, and lightning dust can be used to put a nice shock to their system. Let's put it that way. And of course, she can use her dust in her gun to make explosive rounds, freezing rounds, lightning strike rounds, and et cetera, et cetera. So, and then of course there is the aura. Aura is the natural life energy of people in Remnant and Faunus and Remnant, and it can be, once it's unlocked, it can be used as a defensive shield, a healing entity, and of course it powers the semblances of the huntsmen and huntresses and huntsmen. So every time that Blake uses her semblance, her shadow semblance, it does drain some of the aura, but her aura is so tough that she can take all kinds of damage. She's taken explosive rounds. She's taken hits from Grimm. She's taken strikes from other huntsmen like Adam Taurus and Rowan Torchwick. She took a point-blank explosion from his cane gun, like pointed right at her feet, and she got blasted and she was fine. She's taken hits from her friends like Ilya, and she's fought alongside other huntsmen and taken massive hits from Grim Sphinx and so on and so forth. Now, once she is drained of that aura, her semblance is gone. She cannot use it until her aura is restored, which does take time. And then she is as vulnerable as a regular human. But until that point, she is fine. So, yeah. Blake has fought and defeated many entities on Remnant, as I have noted, including Adam Taurus. She's beaten scores of Grimm. She's had to go toe-to-toe with some of her own friends at times. She helped, along with Sun Wukong, she beat a sea dragon Grimm, which could shoot lightning, and, well, lightning breath, but still. And yeah, she's done a lot. She's fought robots, she's fought monsters, she's fought humans. She can do it all, and she does it knowing she's a faunus, happy to be a faunus, and happy to help her friends with whatever they need. Hashtag Bumblebee forever. Yeah. And now, I mean, I would be fine if she gets with Sun, but well, let's be honest, we all want her to get with Yang, right? Right. So, moving on to Attack on Titan. Boy, this is a dark anime. And no, I have not watched it. I was thinking about it, but I rather just binge it all once it's all done. So I will wait, but I know generally what happens. Starting with, of course, Mikasa Ackerman. Mikasa was the daughter of the latest daughter of the Ackerman clan, who holds a very deep history within the world of Attack on Titan, which name escapes me. I do apologize. But her family was in what was called the Wall of Maria. And because of their political standing and their value as humans, they were attacked by traffickers, and her parents were killed. However, the son of the local doctor, Eren Yeager, saved them and encouraged her to fight back when he was, or sorry, saved her and encouraged Mikasa to fight back when he was getting overwhelmed by another of the traffickers. This unlocked her special abilities, which I'll get to, and she dedicated herself to she killed the third trafficker. So she killed somebody like very, very young, and she was adopted basically by the Yeager family, and everything was great until it wasn't, because then the Titans attacked and killed Eren's family, including eating his mother. Yeah. And as a result, Eren swore that he would end all Titans. He would just eradicate them from the world so that the world could finally know peace. And Mikasa, being eternally indebted to Eren for all he had done for her, swore to always be by his side and to protect him throughout. And this led them to join the military and the Survey Corps. Now, the Survey Corps were a special group of humans who were specifically trained for years. Like, it's specifically stated that it's 3 years of training, all right, to become a Survey Corps member. And part of their deal, if you will, because remember, the Titans are huge enough to climb over a massive wall. It's been there for a very long time. And again, not going to get too much into the history here. But they had to, up their ante, which brings us to the vertical maneuverability equipment, or the VMEs, or the ODMs, if I remember the anime name correctly. This is a special kind of gear that allows the user to propel themselves into the air to go and fight Titans on their level in the literal sense. And when going through training, Eren, he was a little bit not the best. But Mikasa, wow, she was the top student ever. Like, all time in the history of Attack on Titan. She was the best trainee to ever come through the Survey Corps. Though it should be noted that certain characters like Levi were not trained in the military. There you go. So, but she was like a prodigy. In fact, she was able to learn the VME gear and like how to perfectly balance yourself while flying around relatively quickly, while Eren like struggled. So she immediately was better than just about everybody else. And thank goodness, because when the Titans did come and attack and things really started to ramp up, she was like their best soldier outside of maybe Levi. And even then, Levi, I'm not gonna get into that, but let's just say that, you know, she was as good as they come, and that she was specifically stated to be the best of the 104th Training Corps and Survey Corps. So she was better than veterans who had more experience than her. In fact, she was also specifically stated to be able to cut through Titans with more ease than veterans and more experienced fighters than her. And she was not that old at the time. So she was invaluable to the Survey Corps, as well as to Eren, as certain things started to happen, including Eren being a Titan. Who knew? I know, but I mean, if you know Attack on Titan, you know how this all goes. By the way, did you think the ending was controversial? No spoilers, but I'm just curious. So as time went on, and again, I'm keeping it loose because I know some of us haven't seen Attack on Titan and everything, and it was easier to talk about Ruby. But as time went on, Mikasa and both her training and her loyalty to Eren and the rest of the Survey Corps was challenged multiple times, including how Eren was exposed to be a Titan and people feared him as a result of that, but she like almost stubbornly refused to leave him. And even when she would lose to certain Titans, like the Armored Titan, because that one was much tougher than the Titans she had faced in the past, she never stopped training. She never stopped getting better. And one time she got actually injured, and even though she was supposed to be resting, yeah, that's not what Mikasa does. So she started to train. It was even doing sit-ups, despite the fact that she should have just been lying down in bed. And yeah, she's pretty much a boss. And she's stated to be like the strongest member of the Survey Corps, like one of the fastest members of the Survey Corps, which goes to the question of how fast can they go. This is where things get a little bit tricky, because as the Death Battle showed, or sorry, Death Battle preview for Mikasa today showed, the standard VME gear can get you to about 280 miles per hour, but you also have certain limits on that, mainly gas. All right, the VMEs run on gas, and a constant problem with the Survey Corps is that if you do not have enough gas, you're gonna find yourself very much exposed in a hurry. And so that is going to be a constant problem for her, but she can still move very fast. But there's also another kind of VME called the anti-personnel gear, and Mikasa does have that. In fact, it's stated by the end of the series in a certain time skip, which I did not know about. I didn't realize it was a time skip, but she has a kind of a fused model between the VME, the anti-personnel one. And if you're wondering, well, what's the difference between the VME and the anti-personnel? The original VME was designed specifically for Titan warfare. All right, to go up to the scale so that they could, chop off their heads or dislocate their jaws or chop off their limbs. All right, the anti-personnel gear is for more close quarters and person-to-person combat. All right, because there are some very evil people in Attack on Titan, as you already hopefully know, Eren Yeager. And as such, you need a little more maneuverability when you're actually just going through the streets. So she has incredible maneuverability. Plus, her with her fused gear that she actually has more gas capacity. Yes, right. This girl has more gas. We've never sunk so low. So this is gonna be funny. But I'm really excited for this death battle. But she has adapted herself to fight any kind of Titan at any point in time, including with the Thunder Spears. Now, the Thunder Spears were it's honestly a little hard to describe, but think of it as a massive, powerful weapon that causes explosions and is meant to damage the armored Titan, which is one of the toughest Titans around based on what I was reading. And normal weapons could not, the normal blades that the Survey Corps used to chop up Titans would not work against the armored Titan. So they made the Thunder Spears. And they're not big, they're not like actual missiles, but they are able to use explosive propulsion to go and damage Titans and even like blow whole limbs off. And Mikasa, via her standard strength, which is anything but standard, all right, she's able to use 8 of these and not have any problems moving around. So she has a lot of these going for her, and that's pretty dang cool. Yeah, she's incredibly strong. Like, she's well beyond strong. All right, like in the manga, I saw a panel where she was like lifting a set of railroad tracks. All right, like what? Yeah, she's strong, and I'm totally fine with that. So she is more than willing to outfit herself to going and getting the job done, and she's proven that time and time again. And again, she's one of the, if not the best member of the Survey Corps, and a lot of people rely on her, including Eren Yeager, even with his Titan form and everything else that he did. So, yeah, Mikasa's pretty much a boss. Now, her, how do I want to put this nicely? Her loyalty to Eren and certain other people is a little much at times. By that, I mean she has gotten herself in trouble multiple times by trying to defend Eren, including in the beginning of the series after Eren was revealed to be a Titan, because she just refuses to abandon him. And she's gotten herself in trouble and even gotten other Survey Corps members injured because of her loyalty and her just desire to protect him and others. So that can get in her way. But in a one-on-one death battle, that's probably not going to be as much of an issue. But even when she's injured, and that's not as often as you might think, she is incredibly resilient, incredibly tough, a total boss, and easily one of the fan favorite characters of Attack on Titan. So it's the fact that we're getting her as our first Attack on Titan representative, that's pretty darn cool. All right, so the question is, who wins in a fight between Blake Belladonna and Mikasa Ackerman? This is actually a little more easy to determine than my last fight with Heihachi Mishima and Geese Howard, mainly because there's a difference between what they can do. All right, so if you recall, the VMEs, as known in the Death Battle preview, could go about 300 miles an hour. Let's just round that up. So about 300 miles per hour, which is impressive because of the G-force that is exerted upon her. Blake, technically, I believe running speed, she does not have that kind of capability. However, her reaction speed is insane. All right. Now, if you think, well, wait a minute, how does that work? I was like, remember Mario versus Sonic? Sonic totally had more speed than Mario. Mario had a better reaction speed. All right. He's reacted to light speed attacks and such, and he was fine. So this is that kind of thing here. I could not find a full-on like stat for her actual speed, but her reaction speed I did find, because remember that sea dragon I talked about? In a battle between a sea dragon, Grim, and Blake and Sun Wukong, the dragon launched a lightning breath. It specifically stated to be a lightning breath. And she was falling as the Grim fired, and she was reacting and moving in midair to these attacks, those multiple attacks. And someone actually calculated this to be about 8,500 miles per hour reaction speed. And you think, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's just like a one-off, a cinematic feat or whatever. If you actually watch Blake's battles, she is consistently and constantly going and reacting in blink and you miss it moments, including attacks from the front from and beings like Adam Taurus. She reacted in one case literally to him right as he was about to swing at her, and she shadow clones away right when he's about to hit. Like, that is super fast reaction speed. And one time, I believe it was season 1, a Beowulf Grimm, was right about to attack her from behind, and even though she wasn't looking at him, she heard the Grimm, she heard the Grimm, and shadow cloned away and then chopped him down in the blink of an eye. She has reacted to machine gun fire from robots and spider droids. Yes, spider droids, always fun. And was blocking attacks in a flurry of motion before slicing him to pieces. So her reaction speed, which is no doubt helped by her fauna senses, is much greater than anything that Mikasa has ever faced. Again, while the Titans are powerful, their speed is relative to their individual forms. Like I said, like the female Titan moves at about 80 kilometers a second with her strikes. So that's impressive, but that's not 8,500 miles per hour. And if you really think about it, think about how fast these VMEs had to go to try and outmaneuver these incredibly big Titans so that they didn't get hit. Like, they had to go fast because the Titans were so big and strong. And yet, even then, they weren't going, hypersonic, which is what Blake can do. So, and her speed has been compared to Ruby's, and even Sun Wukong was like, yeah, Blake's super fast. He's super fast. So, yeah. Now, in terms of strength, this is where it gets a little tricky, because Mikasa, as I've noted, can chop up Titans very, very easily. So her blades are obviously powerful. But Blake's no slouch. She chops through Grimm, and she's withstood attacks and given attacks that can be defined as impressive. All right, she's gone up against multiple huntsmen and huntresses and Grimm of all shapes and sizes. So her strength is pretty good to go and fight monsters. But then again, you say the same with Mikasa. The catch here is that I got to word this correctly. Much of Mikasa's strength comes from her VMEs. All right, like, yes, the thunder spears. Like, the thunder spears, they're propelled by rockets or explosions. They're not propelled by Mikasa per se. All right, she's throwing them, but she's not. Like, it's not like her force plus the missiles mass. Force times mass. Force times mass is what I mean. Oh, mass equals force times acceleration, something like that. You know what I mean. So a lot of her strength, even though she's got a lot of inherent strength, she needs the VMEs to accelerate her power, if you will, and increase it. There we go. Whereas Blake, she can use her aura to do the same thing and not need to be, flying around at 300 miles per hour. She can just let things come to her. Her whole attack style, in many ways, is to lure the opponents in, then use her shadow ability to put them in a tight spot so that she can counterattack, not unlike Geese Howard. So that absolutely goes in her favor. And again, with her grapple, her Gamble Shroud, which has grapple abilities, she's just as versatile and don't you hate when you can't think of the words? Maneuverable as Mikasa. Now, Mikasa absolutely is more maneuverable because of how her VME works. Like, if you've seen some of the spinning moves that she can do in the anime, woof, Blake is good, but she's not that good. The problem, though, is that Mikasa runs on gas. And the more the battle goes on, the more of a chance that she has to run out of gas and thus put herself in a compromising position. This is where the other problem comes in. Blake has dust. Okay? And as shown in the show multiple times, her Gamble Shroud and her Semblance can use the dust to do various things. And in one fight with Ilya, Blake actually fired ice dust pellets in such a way that she knew that Ilya would block her with her whip that she had. And after a few shots, the whip was frozen solid. Or not frozen solid, but it was frozen enough that it couldn't extend and bend. And like, well, what does that matter here? If Blake was to take out the VME, Mikasa's grounded and she's lost half her weapons. All right? And on the ground, basically immobile, Mikasa's got no shot. So you could argue that once Blake realizes, oh, this lady, she uses that system to get around. All she has to do is either use her semblance to trap her just long enough to freeze her over, or even electrocute if she uses her lightning dust to short circuit the gears in the fan. She'll be grounded, and Blake can just kill her. Not that it might not even get that far, because Blake's strong enough to do enough to get Mikasa injured. Again, Mikasa is superior human, but she's not aura powered human. All right, and that's the other thing. Can Mikasa get through the aura? Maybe if she, with the Thunder Spears, you could argue that she could. But the problem with the Thunder Spears is that they're not the easiest to fire. They're not the easiest to use. They were meant for Titans, and those things are huge. All right, so she would have to use it like point blank to get rid of her spear, and the aura shield, and that's not a guarantee, because the aura is known to take many tons of force before breaking. And you could question whether that would be enough from a Thunder Spear. And again, with her quick reaction speed and her Shadow Clone, which can launch her in a certain direction, would it even hit? So Blake has superior speed and reaction time. She has a semblance which can allow her to get out of any major hit. She has a very versatile weapon that can allow her to maneuver, attack at longer range, and so on. And Dust, which can totally screw with Mikasa's VME gear, among other things. So while this will be a very fun death battle to watch, I have no doubt about that. The 3D fight will be totally epic. I'm going to have to pick Blake Belladonna to survive the attack from this Titan. All right, and with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Blake Belladonna and Mikasa Ackerman? And how do you think the final blow is going to go? Let me know in the comments below. So, I thank you for watching. If you made this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.